Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426 and today we have the review of the Figure Eye Standard Amplified, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now this is a model kit, and before getting this I was actually very excited for this kit, but however after getting the kit, and while I did enjoy building the kit, but the more I built, the more I touched this kit, I am starting to have some interesting thoughts about this kit as well. So for those who don't know, because this is a non-mecha thing, just to make sure for those who don't know or who aren't too familiar with the Blue Eyes White Dragon, this card, you might have seen this one before. This is a Korean card version, but yeah, so you might have seen this card in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. It's kind of hard not to, but yeah, you get my point. Alright, so currently I have the wings off because once you have the wings on, everything becomes very complicated or very hard to balance, and it takes up a lot, and I mean a lot of space. So I took out the wings for now. And I will be showing a demonstration with the wings as well. So first of all, right off the bat, I would like to mention a few things. Number one, some parts of this review, I tried to be very open-minded. I tried to look in in all sorts of aspects. However, this time I'm actually going to mention a few things that I personally think about this kit. So right off the bat, here we go. So for me, I think this kit was more meant to be more like some sort of a statue type model kit, but they added just a little bit more articulation onto it. Now I haven't built many Figure Eye Standard Amplified kits, like maybe I believe there's a few in Digimon that I built but I haven't reviewed, but yeah, well, maybe one or two. And then I know there's the Figure Eye Standard, which are mostly based on the Ultraman and Kamen Rider stuff, which I have built as well. This one, although yeah, of all the stuff I've reviewed or built, this one seems to is not focused on articulation. It's just one. It feels like it's just one of those kits that is just glad to exist. I'm not saying that that's not a bad thing, because yeah, this is like the fact that they actually made this is actually a really good thing, and I know it's been a huge success in Japan, where because according to a friend of mine, who's living in Japan, he spotted a lot of people buying 3 to 4 of these on one go, because one, they want to have a regular one, and then they want to have 3 so that they can customize it to make it into the ultimate Blue Eyes White Dragon, the one where you combine 3 of these guys. Anyway, so let's see what we got. So let's talk about components first. So the reason why this thing is not on a rotating stand is, as you can see, because of the freaking tail, it takes a lot of space on its own. So yeah, no way I'm rotating that. So let's get out the basics. So number one, they do give you a action base, the ones that you are meant to build, and is kind of commonly seen in the Figure Eye Standard lineup. So yeah, we do get that, and because of that aspect, we do get some other parts from the action base as well. And let's see, yeah, and then these aren't exactly leftover parts, but if you want to attach this guy to an action base, you have 2 options. So you can either take out the one that's on the bottom, that's roughly between the crotch, I think, or yeah, roughly between the crotch. You can replace one of these pieces with this so that you have a part to connect, a little bit odd shape, but still. Or you can take off the one on the back and replace it with this so that you can attach the action base to the back part as well. So if you want to have it make it look like it's flying, then I believe this one has a better chance of doing so. Alright, and before we go, and here is the manual. So it definitely your standardized manual for Bandai these days, so no big deal. Alright, and then see, here we have the wings. So since we have the wings out, so let me go over the articulation. So there is a left and right, so just make sure you check the manual and remember which side is which. So here we have the stuff. So this thing has some interesting aspects. Number one, this kit does not use stickers. There is no sticker included, not even water slides. Everything here is all parts separated, even the eyes, which was very surprising for me as well, but still I'll get into that later. So here we have the wings. This kit not only uses the regular Bandai quality plastic, but this also uses some interesting materials. So number one, these wings, these are not your typical stiff plastic paper cutout parts. These are kind of like rubberish material but clear. So yeah, it was very interesting to see, but of course, because of this aspect, when you're building this, some parts may not look like it will close up entirely. So unless I did something wrong. So you can see there's a little bit of gap. That's because of this material, I think. But once again, it could be me that did something wrong. So anyway, so here we have the articulation here. So number one, here we have the joints that can go up and down, and then you should be able to technically rotate this a bit like this. So yeah. So you can rotate that around, and then we have this middle joint that can go up and down a little bit, and then this part does not move at all. So here, this entire, starting from here, this entire part is a single piece. There's no midpoint or rotation or movement here. I mean, technically there is this part where you can fold it, but this is what happens. So it might damage this whole thing. So if you're not really too comfortable with that, just don't. And then also this part, so you will get these white clear parts, or not exactly clear, but I'll have to say like a milky clear part here for like certain like spikes or thorns, whatever you call it on the dragon. But still, yeah, so that's an interesting part as well. Number two is that this kit does actually use a lot of these wires. So they give you a really long one, and then you have to basically cut off the right lengths to connect a few parts. This one goes on inside the neck and also the tail. Now, this is where also I will have to mention a few things. So for me, I did follow everything in the book. I cut it as the exact same lengths that was mentioned in the manual, and then I connected as tight as possible, which kind of led to some pros and cons. Number one, being tight, it's very, there's no way it's falling out. Problem is, it's a little bit too tight to the point where, articulation doesn't really exist too much. I can move it around, but it's not staying too much because there's not enough, extra space there to hold it in. So, yeah. At least the neck, I think the neck turned out very well, at least. So, yeah. Alright, so now let's start with the articulation here. So the more I move here, I'm gonna say this kit articulation is not the best aspect on this kit, so just wanted to point that out. All right, so let's start with the head. I absolutely really love the head sculpt here. So for those who've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh or playing Yu-Gi-Oh for for a long time and been seeing the anime, like Pokemon, there's a lot the proportions on these iconic monsters has changed drastically. Where when we first saw the original, saw this guy for the first time, it was pretty chunky in all places. But later in the series, every time a new Yu-Gi-Oh thing came out, and then we would see it, he would become much more thinner, and the proportion would slightly become different. You can see in this one here, he's not as spiky as you see in this one. So yeah, definitely a change in style a lot. Alright, so let's see what we got. So the head, once again, no stickers, no decals at all. Everything is part separated. So you can see the milky white plastic clear piece here. The eyes are also separate pieces. At first it was very tricky for me to push all the way in, but it does go in. And then you can also open the mouth and reveals a purple tongue. Not only that, but below the tongue is also, the inside skin. Not only the bottom, but also the top section here as well. As you can see, they did a really good job on the molding here. Yeah, yeah, definitely looks like you can definitely lick something as well. All right, so the head. Now, as you can see, the neck joint is using all those wires going on here, and then I believe the head uses a simple connection joint, which is why you can go down, up as well, and then moving the neck all the way upwards is possible as well. And then downwards is also possible. Now, I believe the main connection on here is at the end to the body is a ball joint connection. So, yeah, might be tricky because of the wires, but still, once you have it, you should have it. And then going side to side, technically possible. You can go side to side. Now, despite the lengths of the neck, not as much as you think, but still, it is possible to do so. And then, yeah, you do have a little bit of a tilt side to side, but no 360. Then again, I don't think it's possible for a dragon to do that anyway. Alright, now for the arms. The arms aren't that great. I'm just gonna say that these are one of those arms where they did a really good job in trying to minimize and show no gap here or seam lines, but the way how the structure is basically one of those empty insides here. So yeah. And my right arm is pretty stable, but my left arm, it does fall off time to time, especially the hands here. So since we're here are the claws. This is a two-piece part, so that you just slap two pieces together and you should be good to go. And then the way how this works is that we have another joint here. It's like one of those dumbbell joints that you see in Revoltech. So, but without the ratchet gimmick. So you do have that. So let me show you on this side. So you do have a little bit up and down for the wrist, and then another bend point at the middle part, and then the arms itself. Yeah. Now, if you don't have the wings, you should be able to move this a little bit more easily. But once again, once you have the wings on, that's going to be a little tricky. And because of those spikes, it does get all over the place as well. And you can see it falling off constantly. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. I might need to glue this one on. But it's only my left arm that's like this. So not sure why. But the main connection here is a ball joint, and I would like to mention that this uses the polycap ball joint, or at least I think it is polycap. But the color is the exact same milky white piece as well, so keep that in mind. Alright, so we've seen the arms going on here. So yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't fall off, it's pretty good. But once again, being a dragon, and yeah, if you've seen the anime, there's no reason like the Blue Eyes White Dragon uses its arms or claws. It's just always its main attack where it fires a burst of light through its mouth. And now for like the main body here, we do have a little bit part separation here, so you can see there is a wiggle in this part as well. There's no wiggle there, so yeah, this part they did a pretty good job on trying to make separating a lot of parts here. But once again, once you have the wings on, everything changes. All right, so now we have the legs here. Once again, it does use the same, well, not exactly the same, but it does use the same white parts for the spikes here. Now for the legs, it's pretty okay. My only issue is the feet, which I'll get into that later. So the legs, if you know your way around, it's 360 possible, and then going to the side a little bit possible, and then bend wise we have the double joint system here, or not double joint, but you have the kind of the werewolf leg stance here, so or T-Rex leg stance. So we have one bend here. We have one bend here, and then we have another bend here as well. So, and yeah, for what it is, it does have, I think it is enough as well. And then we do get the ankle joint here, and the pivot, we can slightly rotate it as well. So, this is one of those joints where it's connected to it. There's a peg that goes through inside the feet in an angle. So you might want to, so you do get a pivot, but it's going to be in a very certain angle. So keep that in mind. And now for the feet. So I was hoping that this would be one of those straight feet, but no, this is one of those feet that are like this. So you're practically making this guy stand on its toes. I guess that's, so you can see it's standing, but it's not really standing on its feet, it's standing on its toes. So this kind of bugs me a lot, and this does actually make it a little bit tricky to balance this kit as well once you have the wings on. So just wanted to point that out. So I was hoping that, I don't know, maybe if they make another dragon like from Yu-Gi-Oh, like the Red Eyes Black Dragon, I do hope the feet aren't like this anymore, a little bit more, you know, a more flatter feet or something, maybe another extra joint here so that we can actually utilize the feet or something like that. But that's just me, which is why this gives me the opinion more maybe this was just supposed to be like a statue, like figure or model kit maybe. But yeah. All right, now for the tail here. So the main tail, there is a joint that connects here, but the rest of here, I believe this 1, 2, 3 is a ball joint connection, if I remember correctly. And then you connect a wire here, and then connect these three parts together, or maybe up to here, I believe. So yeah, so you can see there is a movement in the tail, but for me, I did it a little bit too tight with with these wires going on here, so which is why yeah, I'm having a little bit of limited movement here. So I'm not getting that natural looking bend on, like, you know, one of those Hammond Collections Jurassic World things on the tail. So but yeah, so if you want to have a much more natural look, I do suggest maybe you either cut off a little bit longer than mentioned in the manual, and then leave a little bit more space instead of going full tight like me. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. I'll be right back with the wings on and with the action base, and we'll end it off there. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the wings on with the action base connected here. So once again, with the wings, I can barely fit this. Now, the way how this thing is actually standing with no issue is that the wings are way too long to actually go in here, so my wings are actually stuck between my setup, so it's actually giving it like an anchor point as well. So yeah, once you have so if you want to buy this and display this with your collection, you might want to think on how or where you're gonna put this thing in as well. So just to give you guys a few points, and let me get this actually out of the way. Let me just take out one, if I can, take one wing out. Actually, no, I can't. So just a few things I would like to mention. So once you have the wings on, you will notice that the spikes are actually now colliding with the wings as well. So once you have the wings on, rotating the arm is going to become very limited as well. And number two, yes, you depending on where you connect, yeah, you have to use this part, and then they give you another separate connector for the action base, so you can actually connect it downwards the belly, or if I can move my camera properly, there we go, or you can actually connect it to the back. But in order for it to connect it to the back here, is that the only issue is that the tail has to bend a little bit forward, and that is slightly difficult on mine because I made it so tight. So yeah, so if you're getting yours, make sure you plan ahead on how you're going to display it, where you're going to display it, so that you're going to have a less difficult time, you know, managing this kit as well. And that is pretty much it for the review. So once again, I did enjoy building this kit. It was a very new experience. But once again, after building this kit, I have definitely noticed that the articulation is not exactly its best trait or best aspect of the kit. It's just one of those kits that's just really good and happy to like exist, because when will we actually see a Blue Eyes White Dragon model kit? So if it's now or never. And yes, I am very aware of their releasing, or they have announced and are going to release Exodia, and I am definitely going to try that kit as well, because that's more of a humanoid style design. Hopefully articulation is going to be a little bit, you know, more existent, and will be also having an impactful look on it as well. Anyway, if you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. This was a review of the Figure Eye Standard Amplified, the Blue Eyes White Dragon model kit. If you guys got any questions or requests, just let me know. Until then, see you guys next time.